Hello, welcome to my podcast. I wanted to do this one because abuse is very prevalent and it's actually quite hard to see sometimes. If somebody hits you, it's pretty easy to see. But emotional, mental abuse and verbal abuse, particularly in a passive aggressive way, can be hard to see. And I want you to start looking at your friends, the ones you've lost, the ones who've left you. Decide whether you are actually with an abuser. Abusers can be very charming, can be very nice. They can buy you stuff and seem attentive. However, the undercurrent is that they want power over you and control, and that will be their main push. That they don't come really from love; they come from power and control and conditional love. If you've had friends who are abusive, you'll know because of how you feel. You might start off all right, but then you start to feel that you're not so special, that they're pushing you aside, that they're saying some things that maybe you shouldn't be saying, that they are bad-mouthing you in front of other people. Abuse comes in all different forms, and I want you to have a look at it, because sometimes losing those people is not a bad idea, because abusers are basically bullies. They're just bullies and emotional terrorists, as I like to call them. It's easy to gloss over it all the time, and you can do that if you want to maintain a relationship. However, you need to be aware that abuse is happening and you're probably the victim of it. Of course, there could be times when you're abusive too and have made other people the victim of it. It cuts both ways. However, when you lose friends sometimes, it's because they're too abusive and you just can't do it anymore. It'll come in different forms. There'll be verbal abuse. That means that they'll maybe scream at you or yell at you or say some pretty nasty things, or then just act like they haven't done it. I love that one. There's also a verbal abuse in that they'll be passive aggressive. It's a really interesting one for you to look at. Abusers are very passive aggressive quite often, especially the covert ones, the ones that hide. They will therefore say things to you that are not very nice, but they've sort of said it in not an angry way. They've just said it in a way that makes you feel really, really uncomfortable. You have to decide whether you want to have friends like this. Some people are actually physically abusive. They'll hit you and do things that aren't actually hitting you. It's just like they do it in fun, but it's not that funny because it hurts. I know of someone who used to do that to his mother. He got walked past her and hit her on the arm all the time, make out it was a joke. And abusers will often, if you pull them up on it, they'll often say, "Oh, it's just joking, you're a bit sensitive, aren't you?" They'll do things like that. The emotional abuse is very hard to find a cure for. I don't know how you do that one. They will not make you feel special, and they will actually put you down a lot. Basically, they won't care about how you feel. So if you've got something really bad's happened to you, they won't particularly be there for you. They'll actually often want to outsource you to somebody else, or tell you to ring a friend, another friend, or go to the doctor. They won't actually be there to give emotional support. That's what I find the emotional abusers are like. They don't give support. They often give really, really bad advice too, and they're just not present. And they'll turn it kind of back on themselves, and they want you to move on. I've heard of people who've told their friends after their father has died, friends lost a father and very distraught, to get over it. You know, these things happen. And that's a form of emotional abuse because they're not really connecting to how you feel. Mentally, they might mess with you. You remember certain things and they will argue that it wasn't like that. No, you forgot that, you made a mistake, you're wrong, when you know you were right. And they can psychologically play with you as well. I don't think having abusive friends is a very good friendship. However, sometimes we are with them. The best way to handle them is not to take the abuse. So you don't take it on board. Don't take the blame shifting or any of the lies or any of the things that they say. I think less time with them is better. And in some ways they can be better on their own, and some days they're better with people. It all depends what sort of way they abuse you. Sometimes when they get you on their own, they sort of think they can do more worse than when they're in front of people. Abuse is not good. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them to be doing it. If you've lost friends because they're just too abusive and emotionally neglectful, and I think you'll find that comes in the abuse package of emotional abuse, is the neglect. They just neglect you. They come in, they go out, they come in, they go out. Then you won't hear from them for a while, then they're back. It's like an emotional neglect because they're just doing what they want to do. And that can really get to the point where you don't want to be in the relationship anymore. They've sort of got an on-off switch, and whereas you're always there. Emotionally, they won't support you either, and they won't help you in the physical ways either, like drive you to the hospital or help you with this. They just get out of everything. So they don't actually emotionally or morally support you. Make up your mind what you want to do. I tended to sort of see less of these people, invest less with them, because I didn't find it was a very good dynamic for me, especially with my background. I wanted to heal from that and have a life with no abuse. However, if you want to stay with them, you can put up with it or spar with them. You probably won't win with them, I don't think. Abusers are quite good at being abusive. I wouldn't take any verbal abuse. I would just seriously think of saying, I'm not going to have you speak to me like that, and hang up if you're on a mobile phone or something. You can stand up for yourself, but you also got to be aware that abusers will pay you back. They will come and pay you back somehow. So don't think it'll be like an easy journey with them. Abuse is common in the world. I often watch programs and think, wow, that was an abusive way to talk to someone, or that was an abusive way to treat someone, but it's just seen as okay and being smart and being a bit, I don't know, smarty pants with them, when in fact it's just abuse. If you've lost people because you won't put up with the abuse anymore, I applaud you and say congratulations. If they've walked away from you because you won't let them abuse you anymore, congratulations. If you have been abusive and lost friends because of it, I think you need to change. You need to come from love, not power and control, and try and be a better friend to them. That's what I think. Look at your friendships. Some people verge on it. I find that for me, the hardest one to pick was the emotional abuse because quite subtle. But it just made me feel like crap, really, and emotionally, and that sort of helped. And I didn't feel that they cared about how I felt. They were just paying me lip service. That's how I could tell. And very neglectful. Quite, when I say emotionally abusive, they can actually be quite cruel to you and shut you out emotionally, avoid you emotionally, not respond to you emotionally, and that's actually emotional abuse as well. These are the people who you telling some really emotional thing that's happening to you. You finish the sentence, and they're like, "Okay, so do you want a cup of coffee and do you want to watch a movie?" They just completely, it's like you didn't say it. It's like what you've just said is invisible, and so that's a form of emotional abuse because they will not connect and they will be emotionally absent. Good luck with it all. It's a really hard one, I think, the abuse. It's easier when someone does something that you can see or says something that you hear and you know straight away. The more subtle forms, I think, are harder, and they seep into friendships, and people become more opportunistic about being abusive with you. But know where your line is and how much you're prepared to tolerate when it's a joke. Because I'll always say, oh, you're so sensitive. Like I said earlier, it's a joke, and I put it back on you. But after a while, if it starts to erode things for you, I think you should just seriously think about the future of this friendship. I know we hate losing friends. I know we do. No one likes it. But we have to love ourselves enough to say no to abuse. And that's easy to say, but it's actually quite a big ask down here on earth. So remember that self-love is important, that you love yourself enough that you won't allow people to treat you badly and be abusive to you. And if you lose the friendship, well, I'm really sad and sorry for you, but it's probably a better outcome for you long term. I hope you have a good week and I hope you're surrounded by love. And I'll talk to you soon.